you may or may not have seen that one of our lovely customers and my friend, Shona Smith, needs to have some really important surgery. If the surgery is delayed, the conditions, the effects of this condition rather, could worsen. And not just that, but to have the surgery make a massive change to Shona's life, her quality of life and enjoyment. And she's such a lovely person. It's horrible to see and hear that she's basically spending most of her days asleep at the moment, and it's just very sad. So I've just popped the link there to the fundraiser I'm doing. So I'm going to get my hair cut. Anyone that knows me, I have very, very long hair. It's almost to my bottom, and I'm going to spend some time before I get it cut to get my hair treated. I'm working on strengthening it because I also want to donate my hair to a children's cancer charity. So I've just popped the link there to that. If you can't donate, that's absolutely fine. If you could share my fundraiser, I'd be very, very appreciated. Or if you can donate £1 or anything, will really help. So just wanted to tell you about that before we start. So on my desk, this actually came in a delivery. It was some board to stop stuff getting damaged. So it's like some kind of that hardboard, you know, a bit like MDF, but that like plasticky stuff, you know, like some furniture's made out of. And all I've done on here, I took some heavy gesso. The reason I use heavy gesso to get a good coverage firstly, but also with heavy gesso it has some dimension, so it's not quite texture paste, but it does have some dimension, which means that you can play around with it a little bit to create this texture you can see. So this is just gesso, this isn't modelling paste. And I played around with, first of all, just a paintbrush coated, and then I took my silicone brush. This is the Finnabair silicone brush we have in store. This is the 2-inch one. And I just kind of spread it on in different directions and then scraped it off. So you can see where some's coming through again. And then there's some thicker sections just to create some texture. And it's going to help do this wintry look. So while we are 7 o'clock. So we'll just hold on a minute and see if anyone else wants to join, and then we'll get cracking. So I had this paper that I really wanted to use this tree line from. This is from the AB Studio Secret Wood range. This is sheet number 2 right behind the trees. So this is the back, this lovely hair on here, flowers and the lovely deer. But I want to use this tree line. So I've got a kind of idea. So what I'm thinking is to add that here, kind of torn roughly, and then up here I'm going to work on some more texture and perhaps some stenciling, and we're going to add colours. So I've totally forgotten who posted the piece. I shared it on the Thompsons Craft Supplies group recently. It was a piece somebody made, a very wintry scene using the AB Studio papers and some Lindy's inks. So if you on the group, you'll know which one I mean. So I'm really sorry I can't remember. But that kind of really inspired me, and I wanted to do a piece. I felt inspired by that. So okay, let's go ahead and get started. So I really want to use this. I want to use probably up to there, I'm thinking, because I want to do some stenciling and stuff on my background. So I'm going to just very roughly tear, and I'm going to try and keep that kind of coloured part. I want to keep these kind of mountains that are here. Let's go there. And I'll keep the paper that's left because it's very pretty still, and we'll make another lovely piece. I just wanted to use this bit today. I'm going to have that leaf, I think, there. Okay, so something like that. So you can see already. Now this is a little bit bigger than my board, so I'll need to tear a little bit more off. But what I think I'll do is I'll stick that on and I'll just trim that with scissors at the end. Now I need to decide if I want this flat or not. So I think what I'm going to do for now is I'm going to put a little mark to give myself an idea of where the paper reaches to. So just a rough idea at points. Because I'm going to stencil, there's no point to go down where the paper's going to sit to waste our paste and so forth. Okay, so I've just made some pencil marks where the paper's going to come to help me. So I'm going to take that away and I'm going to decide whether I want that to sit flat or with some dimension once I've done the background. So I've got my gesso textured piece here, but I want to up the top here add some more texture, and then we're going to add some color as well. Right, so first of all I'm going to use a stencil and some modeling paste. I'm going to use this stencil. It's not a winter stencil, but it's very intricate and delicate, so I feel it'll help create a nice wintry feel anyway. This is stencil ID 87 by AB Studio. You can find on our website. If you're new to the website, it's thompsonscraftsupplies.com. You'll find the menus there, and a lot is under the brands, so you can, if you know, say you want to look at AB Studio for example, you can go to the brands section and it's sectioned into like A to J, K to L, you know, that kind of thing, to help you if you want to just find a particular brand. Or you can look under mixed media section, stencils, stamps and so forth. So I've got my stencil here. Now this is an intricate one, so we need to be careful not to damage this. I'm going to use the Fabrica Decor texture paste. I love this paste. I think it's now my favourite. Reasons being, it's quite thick and it really holds its dimension. When you dry it, it puffs up lovely, and it also dries quickly and it has a nice texture. So I'm kind of paying attention. I want this to like it's coming out from under the tree, so I'll go down a little bit below my pencil marks and I'm going to kind of do it in sections and dry it, I think, and see how that looks. So I'm going to go, I'm not going to do the whole doily shape. I don't want it to be too uniform. And when you're doing the paste, it's don't kind of jab, it's a nice smooth motion. I always tell people to think like you're buttering toast, you know, you don't want holes in your toast. So just smooth. And with this paste, because it's quite thick, if you've got a thicker style stencil, really do lay it on and you will get a lovely dimension with it. So if I'm careful, I might be able to do the second one without drying. Okay, there we go. So being careful once you get that first little bit on, and then you can, don't need to hold it so tightly. Once you've got some paste on, that's going to act like a bit like an adhesive for you while you put it on. And with this, I would normally clean my stencils with the baby wipers. I'm not going to do that this time because I don't want to break it. So I will take that and put that in some hot water. So I'm just going to get the excess off because I'm not going to use my baby wipe. I want to clean as much off as I can. Just being careful not to scrape back what we've done. And I'm just going to pop that to one side a second. So it's important to clean your stencils as quickly as you can. Just being careful again because this one is very delicate. And I will give it a, let's have a try, because They are very, very well made. The AB Studio ones, they're strong. So I'm just going to be very careful and see how it takes. Yeah, actually it's okay. So if you wipe in one direction maybe. Yeah, that's fine actually. That's coming off okay. I'm not breaking it. Hi Netra. I hope I've said your name correctly. Sorry if I haven't. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, that actually, you know, that wipes fine. You haven't got to be too careful. Maybe because all the edges are joined, that's helping. So that will pop to one side and clean properly later. So here you can see the lovely stenciling. See how it already looks very dimensioned, that paste. Let's pop that away. We don't want our paste to all dry. Make sure you wipe around your lids if you've got any excess on there, as you'll find it really hard to get the lids back off next time. So I'm just going to dry, excuse me. So I'm just using a heat tool here to dry this. And you'll see with this paste it does puff up a little bit as it dries. This is what I was saying about the dimension. And it's really nice. You get a good stencil from it. So if we been busy with Christmas crafts or not yet, you're just not into that, I will admit that I find Christmas, like your traditional red, green, gold type crafts, you know, with lots of Santas and things, I personally find it difficult. I don't dislike it, I can't do it myself very well. But winter, I love like the cold icy colours, pretty like glittery, shimmery sort of feels like ice. I really love that. I think it's very pretty. I think winter can be very beautiful, like on the trees and stuff. It looks lovely, doesn't it? Let's see, a little bit more, almost dry. I did put it on quite thick. I really wanted to get good texture from it. And it's important, we're going to add water-based medium on top of this, so it's important that we dry it as much as we can, because if we leave that really watery, when we spray something or add liquidy paints, we're going to make our stenciling run and we'll lose that nice pattern. Okay, so you can see that's got a good bit of dimension on there. Before we colour, I'm going to add a bit more dimension up here, so something different and thicker still. We're going to use the Fabrica texture paste, but this is the marble paste, so it has marble particles in it. You can hear as I'm undoing that. Hi Hazel, oh, I'm glad, that's nice to hear. So this is totally different. You can see, hi Kasha. You can see how different it is, and this would not work through the stencil. The particles are big, it's quite chunky, so you want, if you're going to use it with a stencil, you want something that's not really intricate. And with this you have to have a bit of patience, so it's kind of a case of spreading it on and kind of wiggling it around, if that makes sense, until it sticks. And you'll probably find some comes off, but it does create a really nice effect. I really enjoy using this stuff. There's so many little marble particles in here and it just looks great. So I'm using this to help create my snowy look. And it does surprisingly dry again quite quick. You'd think something this thick it's gonna take forever, but it's not too bad. So again, you'll be able to find all these the marble paste and the texture paste under the F brands Fabrica Decor, or you could find it in our mixed media section, or you can use the search bar as well. And if you ever have any trouble finding anything, please do just message me. It's not a problem, I can send you a link. Hi Ali. So I've just put a bit of that up there. I don't want to join it. Just going to be my kind of wintry sky, I guess. I'm just going to wipe that. It's really, really important you get this stuff off quick, because it really is like concrete. So I'm just going to dry that again. While I dry that, I'm just going to have a quick slurp of coffee, so excuse me. And then we're going to get working on some colour. So we've got some nice texture going on already. So we've used heavy gesso, so that has some body to it, to create this scraped kind of pattern on the background. Then we've had some stenciling with some texture paste, which is quite a thick texture paste. And then on our top here we've got the marble paste, the thickest paste, gritty, very textured, and you'll see when it's coloured it looks lovely. So like inks will run into it, and later on you could use some wax to rub over the top grains, so you can get like a really nice depth with the marble paste. So this is kind of the boring bit for you to watch, and the magic shall happen in a moment when we get some colour going. And another reason for using this board is I'm going to build quite a heavy layout, if you like. So this wouldn't be any good just on a scrapbook page. Already the mediums I've used are quite heavy, but I want to use some quite big embellishments, so that just wouldn't work on paper. So using this board is going to be great. And also I wanted to have it as like a kind of decor piece around the home at Christmas. So paper just doesn't stand up very well on its own. You could put it in a box frame, that would be fine, but I just think this will stand on its own. The stencil I've used is the AB Studio stencil ID 87 Casher. It's this big doily. It's I think about an 8x8 size. It's really nice. Okay, let's see how that feels. That's dry enough for now. Okay, so I'm going to move these out of the way because I won't need them again. Right, so colours. I've got a Lindy Starburst in Banff Blue. This is very, very strong. They're very pigmented colours, so we will be light with that. We don't want to be too much with that. I've also got some Distress Oxides, Bundled Sage, Faded Jeans, and Hickory Smoke. I picked these colours to go with the paper. Hi Rebecca. Okay, so see, they're going to go nice. So the blue just a touch, we don't want to overpower. And I've also got some of the Vicky Boutin brush watercolor pens. So these have got ink in them. You just activate them. There's a little cap you need to twist the nib into, and then you just squeeze. So I'm going to try some of these as well. So we're going to use mixture of those over the stenciling and this background. So that's what we're going to do now. So I'm going to start with the oxides, I think. So let's see. I'm going to use this matte sort of thing I'm leaning on. Let me just clean it up a bit because I've got a bit of gesso and all sorts on here. So you've got, sorry, I keep knocking the camera. If you've got a plastic, you know, your matte, your media matte, piece of glass, piece of plastic packaging. I like to reuse my plastic packaging. Any like that will do fine. And we're just going to smush some of this colour onto my mat. And I like to do the packaging technique, so you put it onto plastic, spray it, and then squish that onto your work. But because this is very textured, that might be quite difficult. So instead I'm going to spray them and pick up with the paintbrush. I'm just going to clean that ink pad. It's a bit juicy. Okay. So yeah, I'm going to use them like a watercolour, if you like, instead, because it will be easier to apply that way in this case, I feel. Whatever works for you is fine though. And I think oxides again will be great with the wintry look because of the chalky kind of look they have when you activate them with water. So let's get paintbrush. And so I'm just going to pick this colour up and I'm going to start applying it onto my work here. and we'll see what happens. Some of this marble may fall off, that's fine, it happens. Just being, you know, a little bit thoughtful of it, not to be too brutal. It will take, you know, a good while to dry fully and harden, you know, and dry to the surface you put it on. So I'm just starting with this grey. This looks lovely, I have to say already. I'm liking this. So no particular method, no thoughts. I'm going to work the colours together, and we've got more layers to put on. So let's take some of this blue. And we can also spray our water on here if we want to mix the colours together more. Hello Shona, here's the lovely Shona. So this is the lovely lady I want to help get this surgery. So do check out, I put a link at the top to the fundraising. So please, even if it's just a share, it would be so appreciated, because one of your friends might be able to help. So anything you can do will be great. What was I saying? I lost track there. I don't know, what was I saying? I'm going to be adding more layers anyway. I think that's what I was saying. Oh, that's what I was going to say. I know now. I've remembered. Sorry, brain has gone. Been a busy day. That when you're using inks, so if you want to blend colours, do that while they're still wet. If you're wanting to create more layers, then you need to stop and dry and then add more colour, because you're just going to mix them together, especially if you get more water on here. That's going to just start blending and blending. And if you're using especially contrasting colours, so not colours that generally don't go together, if you know what I mean. So say you wanted to use purple and orange, for instance, and you just keep getting it too wet and wet and wet, eventually you're going to end up with brown and mucky. So these colours are oxides in hickory smoke, bundled sage and faded jeans. So the one that probably looks yellowy is bundled sage. It's actually a green. Can you see? Over here you'll see it better. Apologies for the light. We've got one light that's quite far behind me, and then I've got like a little lamp, so some parts look a bit dark and some bits too bright almost. Okay, so I think that's gonna pretty much do on the oxides, because we're going to add other colours, so I'm not worried, and we don't have to colour it all anyway. Leave some white would be nice. So I'm going to stop, clean that up, and just give this a quick dry. And as I dry it, you'll see how that adding the water has activated the oxide, so you'll get a chalky kind of look. Where's my heat gun gone? Yeah. And there's not that much wet on there, so this will only take a second to dry. So like with this board, I really encourage to, you know, look around at things that you can use. Packaging is a great one to be reused in work, even if you're just using it to add dimension, you know, to pop behind your die cuts to raise them up. I try to balance money in my work. It's, you know, it's not everything. This is our pleasure, but sometimes we don't have money to spend on things, and I'm very much for I spend money where I need to, so I'm all for quality goods, you know. I'll, like on my mediums, on my stencils, I want something good I can rely on. But where you don't need to, like I don't need to go out and buy, I don't know, say a huge canvas this size when I've got this board lying around. That's perfectly fine. I like to do up, I go to car boot sales and charity shops and things a lot, and get things really cheap. Like for instance, I've done a lot of kettles that I've bought, like coppery kettles that I've paid a couple of pounds at a car boot sale for. If I went and bought one of those, or say for instance a branded one, you know, there's some brands that sell things like that, they're gonna cost like £20 plus pounds, so that's how I like to balance. This cost me nothing because it came in some packaging. Okay, I'm going to add a very small amount of the Lindy's. So these are paws, so you twist the cap, and I'm going to actually put it on my mat. As I said, it's very strong. You can see how dark that looks. And that is more than enough. It's probably too much. And I'm going to spray it with water. A bit of water here. Get another brush. See how dark that is, and I only put the tiniest bit there. And so we'll add some of that on too. I don't think I cleaned this brush properly last time I used it. So maybe go up the top with this, create like a kind of sky. That's gonna look nice. And yeah, it's looking quite pretty already. And so Lindy's have shimmer in them as well. So obviously we know oxide, well maybe we don't. Distress are flat colours, they're just ordinary inks. So Lindy's have pigment and shimmer. So you'll get a nice sparkle. Now I didn't actually shake that bottle properly, just thinking about it. So I probably have just got pigment here today. So that's fine. It's more the important thing, I think, for today's piece. I'm not going to dry yet because I'm going to do some more. So now I'm going to use the pens that I told you about. Hi, Mike. Thanks for joining, everyone. It's lovely to see. Now, again, I've got a lot more blue here than I wanted because I've got the trees. So I'm going to pay more attention to the green inks, especially now. So there's like a squishy bit in the middle. And you just squeeze there, and then that's going to come out. Now these are quite strong, so I'm going to put some around, and then I'll use my water bottle sprayer to get that moving. So I don't want it to be that strong a colour. And we can get that running into that lovely stenciling. Okay, that looks good. And more. Yes, they are, Claire. These are the... no, sorry, they're not. They're the Vicky Boutin ones. They are called... What are they called? They are... Have I got them here? I can't see the box. I think they're called watercolour markers. If you search Vicky Boutin in the store, I'm pretty sure they're called watercolour markers. Come on, pen. And I really love them. You can create background so quickly with them. And I think it's 12 you get in a pack, so quite a lot. They're not cheap, but you know, if you bought a set of 12 inks, that's not going to be cheap, is it? To be fair. Okay, and I think I'm actually almost happy with how this looks now. I don't want to overpower and lose that delicate feel we've got. So I'll just use a bit of the brighter green and some bits that haven't got colour. And then I think we'll leave the background so we don't lose what we've got. And so now I'm getting my piece quite wet. So this is the time to think about drying, because especially with that marble paste, we're going to make that move if we don't stop and dry. Okay, so I think that's it. Knowing when to okay, Claire, see you soon. Knowing when to stop is one of the hardest things, and I'm still learning that myself, and it's very frustrating because you think, damn, I should have stopped, it looked great. you know, less is more sometimes, especially when you're trying to create a look like this where it's a delicate feel. It's good to know when to stop, and that is hard. That is something, oh, I didn't want to do that. That is something I've been trying to learn for a long time, and I'm still not quite there yet. I'm not a minimal person, I am a more is more type person, but sometimes that's just not the right look and you want a delicate feel. So yeah, I am trying very hard to learn when enough is enough. Got a random spoon here for some reason, I don't know what I needed that for. So if you've got any patches that are a bit too strong, you can dab those off, especially with a baby wipe because they're wet. Yeah, I really love those pens, Lorna. They're a great investment, I think. And I think because the barrel looks, you kind of open it to the barrel, I guess you could reuse them when they're empty and put something else in them. Don't quote me on that, I would have to look, but yeah, I suspect you probably could. Okay, so we've got our background done now, so that's hi Cleo, that's quite a lot of our work done. We need to make sure this is dry now because we're going to be sticking things to our work. It's no good applying adhesives on something wet. That's not going to work. So we really want this to be quite dry now. And I think this has created a really nice look here. It's really showing up the texture. Can you see in that grainy paste? See how it's like sunk to the background? And then it's really highlighted the grit at the top level, if that makes sense. So when you, later on, I'm thinking to put some wax on there. That's going to look fab. So I'm more worried about the stenciling for now because I'm going to be working over that area mostly. I'm not going to be putting anything much on top of the grit, so we can always come back and dry that after. Okay, so I think that's okay. So we've got quite a delicate feel. That's good. That's what I was going for. Did manage it. Well done me. Didn't do too much there. That was good. Right. Let's put that away. Out the way. I was thinking to use some impastos, but I've got a really nice texture and really good colour already. So enough is enough for another day. So let's see. Now I said to you I wanted to use some heavy embellishments, so this is what I was thinking. So this is a Creative Embellishments chipboard. This is one of the Prima resin frames. So I was thinking we could kind of work our piece like centered around this somehow. So this is another reason for this board on a piece of paper. That would be absolutely hopeless. It would all fall apart. I made the door recently, so here was the door, the window rather, and these leaves, I had some bits left, so I'm going to use those. So I'm thinking something like this maybe, yeah. And I've got some various bits and pieces up here, so let's see what we've got. So we're kind of just thinking about a composition at this point. I've also got this. This is from our lovely friend, the Scrap Lab, Cal at the Scrap Lab. And I love these little, they're called like infinity circles. On the group shona, I've totally forgotten the lady's name. I'll have to get the link after and I'll post it back on this video, but somebody recently made a really lovely I think, yeah, it was a layout using this AB Studio range. This is the Secret Wood and Lindy's sprays. We didn't use Lindy's sprays, we did use one of the squirts, which was that dark blue. and I really loved the colours and the feel of it, and that kind of made me want to do something like that. So we could, I don't know if I just like that actually. I think I'm just going to go for these. This is quite modern feel, and I feel it's a little bit harsh actually against these delicate leaves in this kind of vintage frame. So we'll save that one for another day. I've got some metals, so let's have a look. And some flowers. So I'm just kind of playing around with these first. And then obviously I've got a whole ton of die cuts from this same range, so the Secret Wood range, that I'm going to work into this as well. So we need to not forget about those because they're the star of the show. Now I had this one, but I don't know, maybe a touch of pink might work actually. We'll think about that one. I have got some blue and white flowers. Yep, so you can get these style in our flower mixes. I've got this actually, this was from Cal. Picked up a little pack, this lovely snowflake. I thought we could tuck in somewhere maybe, or even behind that frame. Ooh, that might look good. So think about that. I've got some sparkly gems in the same colours. I will add it towards the end. So I don't know, I think maybe a touch of pink could actually work. This range does have some pinks in. Now we need to remember that this paper of course is going in here. So let's lift all this up first and decide. Now I wasn't sure, did I want the paper flat? I think, and see how this has started to curl, actually that's given me an idea. I think we're going to put it flat, but we're going to have this curled up. Ah, thanks Shona, that's lovely. I really hope you're good. Must be really tough. Hope you're managing to have some fun when you can. So I'm going to use my distress tool, just distress these edges a little bit more. And you could ink these when you distress it. It takes the ink really well because you've exposed like that the inner sort of pulp of the paper. But on this one, because I'm actually going for that delicate feel, I'm going to leave the edges white because that's going to help draw that kind of icy delicate feel, I think. So we'll leave them white. You can use scissors as well to do this, just be careful. And don't use like your best scissors because you will blunt them. So yeah, I think we're going to put this flat and then curl this up a little bit and maybe have some bits peeking out from there. So let's stick that down first and commit to that. Do you know, that's one thing I didn't get out ready, some tape. Usually I have some on my shelf above me. Let me just stand up, excuse me a second. I got my foam dots out, but I didn't think about the tape. That was a bit silly, wasn't it? Right, there's none up there in my basket. I'm just still getting used to the new house and like where everything is. Oh, I know where it is. Ooh. Sorry, I don't know what that was. It's in this basket here, I remember now. Right, I'm going to get tape. Hi Gillian, you did a couple of hours sorting in the craft room. Went to lunch in a craft fair. Oh, well that was nice, but boo to the now being tired. I need to remember what I said, that there was a bit of a hangover on the paper, so I won't stick right to the edge, and I want to leave that space to tuck. I was thinking about tucking stuff under at the top, so we'll leave a bit of a flap at the top so we can tuck in. When doing mixed media layouts, I always try not to stick my tape or glue or whatever it is you're using right to the edge, because for me, it's about creating a layered look and feel. So and I don't plan everything to the T before I do it. I like to very much freestyle a lot of it. I like to pick out what I'm using, or as much as I can, but I don't want to plan exactly how the look is going to be, because for me that's a lot of fun, is like coming up with it as I go. So by not sticking, you can then, not sticking right to the edge rather I should say, you can then decide, oh actually that would look good under there, and then you can do it. I don't want to lose this end because that's really pretty. So I'll do it so I have to trim that side. I'm really rubbish at sticking. This is another reason I don't use glue, because I can do that, or a glue gun. And my tongue is now sticking out in concentration. Right, there we go. Okay, so just gonna stick that down. If I've got a lot of kind of uneven surface under this, there's a little bit of texture from the gesso but nothing too bad, then I would probably go and use some gel just to ensure that my papers are going to stick. But this is fairly flat, so I'm happy that's going to stick. So I'm going to curl that up. Love that paper, it's lovely, isn't it? So this is all from the AB Studio Secret Wood range. So let's see now how my theory works. I kind of want to see that mountain, so I'm going to move this way, I think. And let's have my piece building here, I think. Yep, that looks better. Now I want to kind of go like this, because that's too kind of doesn't bounce properly. So I'm going to have something like that, I think. Then, so I've got some other bits and bobbits. Let's see. So I could put this here and build on top of there. I like to use a lot of threes. Threes makes me happy. I like odd numbers. When I see like a 4 or 2, it just makes me, I don't like it. I don't know why that is, but it just seems to not work for me. Got this little Tim Holtz tag I thought would be nice. That says peace. I might pop that somewhere. So I'm just kind of playing now, seeing how it looks before I commit to anything. I'm feeling that these are too big. It just doesn't go with this feel, for this delicate look I wanted. So I'm going to take some of those off. Got this little pretty button. Whoop! That's alive. It's got like a little Julie center. I thought that might look quite nice. Could even go in our flower maybe. No, it doesn't want to sit there. We could sit there. That's like a 3 now. So you've got 2 of the leaves, but then I've got something in the middle, so that's okay. I can handle that. Let's try some of these flowers. They're a bit more delicate. Those flowers were a bit too big, I think. So let's just go for the plain white. Then we can always choose to add some colour with ink or something after. So I like to snip the stems off. You can use the stems. Sometimes the stems look lovely, but on this occasion I just want white. And I'm thinking with the molded pieces. So these are using Prima molds like this. The Prima redesign molds you can find in our shop. This one unfortunately is out of stock at the minute. It's sold like crazy. I have got some on back order ready for when the supply gets them back in. And I use the redesign modeling material, which I have the pot of here, and it comes like little shapes like this. Very, very soft and easy to work. I found personally clay just hurts my wrists. I have weak wrists and clicky thumbs from playing the clarinet, and just don't get on with it. Resin I love the look of, but I just too jittery a person to get it right, and often it doesn't work properly for me. Okay, that's looking okay. Now we need to obviously remember our lovely die cuts, because that's what the piece is going to be about. So let's bring those in. We may change this once we see these. So I've got a whole bunch here. I'm just going to put them to the side here. Now I might need to move over a little bit so you can see everything. Let's move things about a bit. Move this way a bit more, that's better. Right, so pick all these up. Oh, I found some stars I got out as well. I could use those. Some little twinkly stars maybe. Okay, it's looking good so far. How long have we been on? 45 minutes. Okay, I don't like to keep you more than an hour and a half at maximum, so that's too long. Then let's have a drink. Right, so papers. So I want to just see how this looks with some papers added in. Now I like to there's two reasons why. One, I'm lazy and not great with scissors. But two, I also just like that it makes things pop out. Like die cuts usually come with a white border, so I like to leave a bit of a border around mine, and it makes it easier to cut out. So let's just have a little play just to see if I like how the rest looks before I commit to that. To get some ideas. I think it's gonna work. Yeah, so I'm gonna commit to that. I think I just need to decide if I want anything to sit under there before I glue it down. So let's see if I've got smaller ones that maybe will go inside. I mean, I've got the snowflake, so I don't want to lose all of that either. There's this nice building. I really like that. It made me think of, I don't know, like Narnia, not Narnia, Never-Ending Story or something. I don't know. Let's see. There is this cute little fox, but I think I want this. Where did he go? I think I want him to be the main piece, and I think I'd like him to sit on top of the frame. So now it's a lot about playing. We've got our texture, we've got our background, and now it's going to be building our composition. So yeah, I like that building in there. That looks good. Maybe something else. Yeah, so we can take all this away. Scoop that over there now, and we're going to start to stick some stuff down. So we're going to move these off to the side for a moment, and it's a good idea, obviously I can't do it now because I'm filming, but if you want to at that stage take a photo, or even maybe print it out if you have access to a printer at home or anything like that, and to sort of remind you where things were if you really liked how it looked, that would be a good idea. So if we stick the snowflake down first, I'm going to use Fabrica 3D gel for the lighter things, and the really heavy things like the resin frame I'm actually going to use Prima heavy gel. So I want to be absolutely sure that's not going to come off, especially as I'm building my composition onto that piece. If that falls off, then our whole work is gone, so that's not great. So just stick a blob of that there. It's a little bit too high. Let's move it down. And another reason I like to use gel rather than, say, glue guns and things, you have a bit of wiggle time to move the pieces again. Whereas a glue gun, especially to paper, that's it really. That's your chance gone once you've stuck that down. So yeah, you get a bit of wiggle time with gels. So bit more friendly when you're not sure, especially when you're kind of ad-libbing, doing it on the spot. So it gives you that second chance just to move something. Okay, so that's going there, and this is going to go on top, but we need to put our pieces in first. So popping that there, and then this leaf in here. So yeah, I'm getting more. Before, if you'd have said to me fussy cutting, yawn would have bored me, but I think it's because I wasn't using the right papers that appeal to me. These, I really enjoy fussy cutting them. So yeah, maybe it was the wrong thing I was cutting out. So I'm going to switch to this heavy body gel just to stick our resin frame on. Now I haven't decided if I'm going to paint that chipboard yet. I'm going to decide that later on, I think. I want the flowers slightly off center, I think. And I can be a bit generous with this because this is pretty heavy, this frame. So we really want to make sure it's going to stick. This stuff is very strong. So off-centered, and there. Give that a push. Okay, so now I'm going to switch back to 3D gel for everything else. That will be more than strong enough for the rest of the pieces. Even these, the modeling material is very light, so we don't need to worry about that. So for now I can go back to sticking my pieces down. So I wanted to have this big flower. Maybe it can even pop out from under there. So let's stick that down next. And the background, I don't like toot my own horn, but it looks really good, and you can see just how easy I achieved that. It's half torn paper, half inks on some stenciling. It wasn't anything, you know, groundbreaking, but doesn't it look impressive? So I think a lot of the time it's just being brave, I guess. Just go for it, and if you really don't like something, you can always put some gesso on and do that bit again. That's the thing I like about mixed media as well. It's very forgiving. Now these did curve a little bit, and we're going on to the the marble paste a bit as well, so we're going to need to put a little bit more on to get that to stick. A bit more under here. Okay. I'm not going to worry about that for now. It will stick. We just need to give it some time. Okay, so what I'll do is pop a pot on there. So now, right, so we've got that there and there. This is going over here. Now again, this one really curved because I decided early on my window I didn't want them in that piece. Then I forgot to go back and flatten them. So I do recommend when you use these that you can take them straight out the mold, but maybe about half an hour in, go check them and just push them down again, because they do shrink slightly as they dry. So if you give them a quick flatten, that will help them not to curve when they dry. Okay, so why am I doing that? Right, so that's better. And we're going to have this flower here. I like gel for flowers because they're often not flat on the back, so the gel can squish in where it's needed. And when you've got these awkward little stems, it's good to get that where it's needed when you squish it down. Okay, you're gonna have one. I want to, there's a gem on that metal flower. I want that to be seen. There we go. Don't want to lose that. And we'll have one there. I've got a gap here, so I need something else to go in there after. Let's do the little stars. Breaking a page, I just really you have to just go for it. I like to have a rough idea in my head. So for this, I knew I wanted to use some torn paper, and I knew I wanted to use that stencil. That's all I had, and I had a kind of idea of my color scheme. My brain seems to work in colors, so for me, rather than a theme necessarily, I think I tend to work, I want to do these colors today. So yes, have something you want to do. That makes it a little bit easier, I think, to break the page if you have a vague idea. When you're really stuck, Pinterest, YouTube, social media of any kind, not to copy someone, but to something that inspires you. So this piece I was on about, I really loved the feel, the looks of the ink and the colors they'd used, and that's it. I don't think obviously I'm using the same paper, but I knew I wanted to use these papers anyway. Other than that, I don't think I've kind of taken anything more from it. That was my inspiration. So yeah, have something that you know you want to do, but nothing else, if that makes sense. I think sometimes when you overplan, you lose a lot of your creativity, and actually you end up producing something not so great because you're restricting yourself to this idea you had, and you're not letting it come out naturally. So I'm using the same glue because I'm sticking on uneven surfaces and different surfaces, so this resin can be quite slippy, so I know by using my gel I can be confident that's going to stick. So I think that's kind of those bits. Now I want to go back to my papers, because I really want the papers to be the star of this piece. I'm sorry, I just realised that bit's all off camera. There you go. So I've left this sticking up a little bit. Here's now I'm going to say the wrong thing. Deer. I think it's a deer. Was it no, it's a deer. It's not an elk. That's an elk, isn't it? Or a moose, whatever you call them. That's a deer, I think. Probably wrong there. Right, so I need something else in these gaps here. Let's do another metal there. This gel will dry clear, so I'm not being too worried about extra gel sticking out. Now my 3 thing, I really want something else because I don't like, that's now 2 metals. That's too big. Oh, I could have the little peace token. Let's have that, I think. Onto there. Yep. Okay, I think that looks good. So let's get rid of, I don't want any more heavy things. I'm comfortable, I've got enough flowers, so I can get rid of those. I'm just going to concentrate on my papers now, I think. And finish with a little touch of wax, I reckon. I have also got some die cuts that Lorna kindly did for me. I begged her, I wanted some leaves, so I have a plan to, it's probably going to be the new, well, it is going to be the new year now if I'm being realistic. I want to get some dies in the shop, these sorts of things that are really useful on layouts. So things like leaves, flowers, and then kind of patterned, you know, non-specific things, or just like bits we can add in backgrounds and tuck in, you know, so things that look great tucked in. I want to get some dies like that in the shop. So I think I'm going to add some of those to continue this kind of, these leaves jotting out. Let's find the right type. So maybe this pretty curly one. and this is going to help with the flow of our piece. So we're kind of going this way, but we don't want to go too far out because this is our focus point here. If we go too far out, we're drawing the eye away from it. So it's good to think about what you want the viewer to look at when they look at your piece. So let's stick a couple of those down. Just using the same gel. You could switch to glue here, but because I'm sticking on top of some surfaces that are a little bit uneven, I'm just more confident using my gel, but I know they're going to stick and stay there. And then I'm going to start using some more of those lovely AB Studio die cuts. So I want them to really jump out on the piece. Where'd I put the baby wipe? There. So this is like a gloss gel. So I try not to get too much around like papers and stuff that I don't want, because it will leave a little gloss finish, but it's not the end of the world. Oh yes, I'm going to have sparkly gems, but they're coming at the end, I think, once I see where everything else is. But I will put them up there so I don't forget. Thank you, reminding me. Let's have one more leaf. So I've got 3. I like my 3s. No, not that leaf. Let's have another curly one. And that's going to come out here, I think. So leaving, not completely gluing everything down, we've left ourselves a little bit of room to tuck things in. Okay. Right, so that's those. So let's get rid of those again. Out the way, pop them up there. So we're going to focus on our AB Studios. Right, so now I've got this little fox, but I'm not sure that the colour is quite right now, so I'm not sure about him. Let's see what else we've got. I've got a really lovely wolf, which could sit. Now I've got, remember I've got this tuck spots all along here. So I can tuck some people in. Some animals. So that looks quite nice. Sorry, you can't see this, but now I moved it right along again. He could jump out of there, I think. Maybe on foam dots though this time. So he's sitting up a bit more. So I'm just going to work on building this now. I don't need to worry about the bottom because that's going to sit under the paper anyway. So we're going to tuck him under there. Sitting up a little bit on foam dots. I'll move him along a bit because I covered all that lovely leaf up. There we go. That's better. So he's jumping out there. What else? Got lots of floral-y bits. So they could come out of the frame. Yep, that looks nice. I'll just stick that one flat, I think. But leave the ends up so they can pop up a little bit. So that's this bit I'm doing here. Sorry, it's so big, this board, that I can't get it all in shot. Okay, now there's a nice tree I had here. So that can go. So by having these frames as well, not sticking everything right down, you've got lots of little different layers we can also then tuck things into and raise them up. Okay, let's see what else. There's another leafy thing. I think that's too harsh. Maybe under here under the deer. Ah, I did stick that down there. Stick that there. Okay. So I was just sticking a little tree bit there. I've got some lovely green kind of leaves. That one is too dark, I feel. This one will be nice though. Can tuck into under our flower maybe. Being careful, I don't want to cover up that lovely peace tag that we added. Got another one of those. So it's just kind of placing things, seeing how they look. I'm gonna lift that peace tag back up, tuck that leaf there, and put that back, and that one back. That's it. Okay, we're actually nearly there, folks. It's looking pretty good. It's getting quite busy, so I'm being careful now not to lose this delicate feel that we've created. Yeah, that looks good. Pop a bit more. And I like how I'm kind of leaving the ends up on everything, and that's looking nice. It's adding to this dimension on the piece. Maybe we could have a tree over here by the wolf. We'll use some more foam dots next to him, and we're pretty much done there, I think. We'll add the little sparkly gems. I don't want to forget those. Oh, get off. Oh, whoops. Do it like the wolf is behind the tree. So now I need another little one here where there's the gap next to the wolf. What can I add in there? Whoops. Nice. No, that's too big. There was a little rose I had. No, that's too small. Poinsettia. Could have some little poinsettias going along there. And then I think that's going to be it, apart from our gems. Maybe berries. I need another little one, and then I think that's done with the papers. I'll put this flower. It's a tiny one. Let's have that one. Okay, that's that. So they're all done. Then I've got some sparkly gems. Whoops. And we'll just add some of those in. It could be a good idea to pop some adhesive on the back of these as well so they don't come off. The little gluey bits is quite good on these ones, so I'm not too concerned. And then we're just going to add some touches of wax and we're done. that's enough of those. Wax. Now I quite like the white feel of it, so I'm not going to gesso or paint or any of that. I'm just literally going to rub some wax over the top and I'm going to call it done. So I like how it looks already, really. So this is Heather Hill's Finnabair wax, which I like to use for like delicate feel. It's very, it's lilac, but it's feels like it almost has like silver in it. It's very subtle. So I'm putting that over the raised bits of the resin just to highlight that. I'm going to leave the board, the chipboard frame, I'm going to leave it its natural colour because I think that just raises it a little bit. I'm going to put some onto the leaves, pick out the lovely texture of the leaves. There. And onto a bit of these die cuts, I think, just to take a bit of that stark white away. Just touches though. And maybe onto the white flowers as well. I'm just being careful because that's not dry yet, the gel that's holding them on. And I think that's pretty much it. I think I'm just going to finish with some splatters, just to add to that snowy feel. So I've got some white gesso, let's just use that. Just put a little tiny bit on my mat, bit of water it down. And so for bigger splats you just use your paintbrush. If you want finer splats you can use something to tap it, so I'll show you what I mean. So for bigger splats we're just picking it up on our brush and tapping with our finger. If you want kind of finer ones, get something else a bit heavier and tap onto the brush. So by using gesso, it's semi resist, so it's not going to be as stark as like if I used white acrylic paint, which is what I want to do. I don't want it to be too in your face and keep this delicate feel of this piece. Whoop, nearly had a brush in my coffee. And that is it. I'm calling that done. So let's have a look. Oh no, there's one thing I've forgotten. Where is it? My title. Haha, where have I put it? Is it under here? Where have I hidden you? Hey, we're in the window. Ah, here it is. And it's Let It Snow, so let's stick that on. I like to have titles and things. You don't have to. I mean, it's a home decor piece, so it doesn't have to have a title. I like titles, so I'm going to use my 3D gel and a palette knife. Bit of this on the back. Whoops, that's too much. And where should we have it? Under the frame, I think. And the title again draws us to this deer, stag, whatever he is. I'm sure many of you will tell me that I'm wrong. I'm going to go deer. So it draws our eye again to him. Right, now it's done. So I hope you enjoyed that. Let me show you up close. So I'll put some pictures up. See all our lovely layers. Oops, sorry, not much space here. So you can see all our nice stenciling in the background, this lovely gritty texture. I was going to add a bit of wax on there, wasn't I? And all those beautiful die cuts. We've got our flowers and leaves all tucked in, and we've used leaves in different forms. So we've used die cuts, actual cut with a die cut machine. I'm going to sneeze. Excuse me. We've fussy cut some from papers, and then we've used our molded leaves. So there's paper flowers and cut out paper flowers. So repeating is good in different formats. So I like to repeat elements a lot, but in different ways, so you're creating interest. So we've got flowers, but there's lots of different forms of flowers, and yeah, I think it helps create a nice finished look. So I'll pop some pictures up of this so you can see it all better. Hope you enjoyed it. Any questions, do shout. The website is thompsonscraftsupplies.com if you want to have a look at any of these items, and I put at the beginning of the video, and I'll pop it again just now, the link to the fundraiser for Shona. Do check it out. Anything you can do to help, to share, if you want to do some fundraising of your own, that would be amazing. Anything you think you've got an idea, I'd love to hear. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again. Bye.